Hey everybody, my name is Matt, the founder of Q4 Launch, and excited to be coming to you live from the empty Q4 Launch offices. I know many of you are probably grown a little weary of COVID, although actually it's been really good for many of your businesses, I'm sure, this summer, as we have seen a ton of travel. Coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina, where we are headquartered. We've got a staff of 50 based here in the Charleston, usually in our office every day, although our team is still working from home and working with many of you. I know many of our customers are tuned in today, but we're excited to be a part of ALP's Development Day, specifically the Marketing Focus Day, as we head into fall, this oh so important season of marketing for several reasons we're going to talk about today. But man, what a year it's been. It has been an absolutely wild ride filled with some absolutely high highs and low lows. And we're excited to just be spending some time together today. I so wish we could be face-to-face, gathered around a big table or in a conference room together, just talking it out and talking about our experiences and supporting each other. But it's exciting, and I appreciate everything ALP and Chris have done and Eric have done to bring this together in a way that we can support you, the industry, and talk about a little bit about what's going on from a marketing perspective and how you can make the most out of this season. If you follow our webinar series on a regular basis, you've probably heard some of the things I'm going to talk about today put together into a different format, different order, different medium, but that's a really great resource for you. I encourage you to check that out. You can go to our website, q4launch.com, and check out our webinars we make available for free to the industry on about twice a month. So certainly check those out. Very helpful, all free for the industry as we seek to give back and just share the knowledge that we see and what we're learning from our customers. In addition to that, I want to share a little bit about what we're seeing. If you follow our webinars, you heard me probably back in March or April. I talked about that we were predicting, and this was still in the depths of the despair of COVID, and many of us, if not all of us, were still shut down from a travel perspective. But I talked about that on the back end of this, that I expected to see what we called a wave of bookings. And I used an analogy. If you followed it, if not, you can find it on our YouTube channel. We got a lot of attention and a lot of coverage, and really said, we need to be the surfers, and marketing needs to be, we've got to be out there in the water, paddling, preparing ourselves to catch that wave of bookings. That all the economic indicators, everything I know about consumer behavior, led me to believe that on the back end of these travel restrictions and this quarantine and the lockdowns, we would see a ton of people looking to travel. They'd be looking to travel differently, but I talked about that. I thought we as an industry were uniquely positioned to take advantage of that. And fast forward to today in September, we have certainly seen that wave of bookings happening in many markets. Now, I know not every market has seen that, and for our customers in those markets and for the people watching who are in a market that has not seen that come on, certainly understand Florida, parts of California, and then California's got wildfires we're dealing with on top of everything else. Hawaii still locked down, much of the Northeast still has restrictions. So I understand many parts of our country and many parts of the world, because we have customers all over the world that are still struggling, have not seen that. And I don't make light of that. I understand how difficult that is, and we're standing with those people very differently from a strategic perspective than some of what we're going to talk about today. But knowing the majority of the markets that we are operating in, the majority of states in the U.S. are reopened for travel, and travel is booming in those markets, we're going to talk specifically about some things you can do today to take advantage of that. And all of that coming together, the same information that caused me back in March and April when things were really challenging and difficult to predict a wave of bookings. And while many people connected to that and found hope in that message, I know many people did not like that message as well. And we got some of that feedback that how could you predict that there'd be a wave of bookings happening when we're in a quarantine and we're on lockdown? And regardless whether you feel that was a good idea or a bad idea to predict that, the reality is it came true. It came to fruition, and it was good for many of your businesses. And the same things that led me to predict that back in March, April are leading me to predict that I think we are going to have one of the strongest fall travel seasons we have maybe ever had, if not had in a long time. Because the same consumer behavior, the same economic indicators are in play today that were in play then. Maybe not quite as strongly, like the pent-up demand may not be busting at the gate, busting at the dam quite as strong as it was then, but certainly there are a lot of indicators across the spectrum of travel and economics that would tell us this is going to be a really strong fall travel season. And as such, we need to be positioning ourselves, because while I believe it will be one of the strongest falls we've seen in years, it's going to be a different fall. And if you say, okay, if it's going to be the strongest fall ever or the strongest fall in years, I just need to keep doing what I've been doing. Or maybe you've done nothing. Maybe you've cut your marketing to zero throughout the COVID crisis, which is a crisis in and of itself to cut your marketing to zero. But you need to approach this season differently because travel has fundamentally changed. People are expecting different things. People need different things. People want different things. And their need for information is probably higher than it's ever been. And you need to understand that and speak to that. So with today's time together, I'm going to share some ideas that I hope will be helpful for you to continue catching this wave of bookings that we're seeing across the independent, unique lodging industry that we are a part of and that is really booming right now in so many markets, and help you have your best fall ever. And that's what we're excited about. That's what I'm excited to dedicate my time to you today with, is giving you the ideas you need to take advantage of that and take advantage of these latest trends that we're seeing in travel. One of those things that I want to speak to you about today is this huge movement towards outdoor everything. And it's been challenging, at least here in the last week in Charleston, because it's been like the hottest week of the summer. When I thought it was going to start cooling down because it's September, it's been crazy hot here in Charleston. But there's been a huge movement to outdoor spaces, right? Maybe not everybody, but the majority of people feel safe outdoors. So outdoors has been a huge movement. Everything outdoors is selling like crazy. RVs, boats, swimming pools, you name it. If it helps you do recreation outside, it is selling really hot right now. And what that means for you is you need to help your customers do recreation outside. And if you do, they will buy your product. I mean, that at the very core of it is what marketing is, getting consumers to buy your product. Help them do it outside, and you will see an absolutely boom in bookings coming from that. The national parks are absolutely exploding from bookings perspective, and if you find yourself lucky enough to be near one of them, or fortuitous enough to have bought a property near one of them, good for you. I bet you've seen an absolutely crazy summer this summer. But maybe you're not, and you say, okay, I don't have a national park or a state park or even a really great county park. How can you reinvent to do that? And I love some of the things we've seen our customers do. Specifically the Settlers Hospitality Group, behind their property, the Settlers Inn in the Pocono Mountains in Holly, Pennsylvania, has built an area they call Grant's Woods. And they took a previously underutilized area on their property, and to extend their capacity for their restaurant, they took lumber from other properties that they had in their portfolio, brought it into this market. We're going to put a picture of it up there on the screen for you, but brought it into this underutilized area on their property and built these dining cabins, if you will, these open air dining cabins to be able to extend their serving capacity and allow people to socially distance in a restaurant environment outside. And the future plans for that is to convert those into accommodations, to convert those into cabins. And I love the way they did that, taking and reutilizing or repurposing lumber from other properties, doors from other properties that they have in their portfolio, and creating these absolutely stunning little cabins to eat in and eventually to stay in the woods behind the Settlers Inn. Awesome, awesome stuff. I was actually just up spending some time with one of our customers near the Asheville area. They have a beautiful property right in the mountains south of Asheville. I have a beautiful restaurant, the Orchard Inn. If you've never been, it's one of my top spots to go, and the fall is the perfect time to go there. So if you're looking for some great innkeepers to learn from, check out the Orchard Inn and go talk to Mark and Marianne. But I was up there talking to them, and they had just last year, maybe 2 years ago, finished an expansion of a new part of their property, building some Mountain View suites in a separate building outside of the main inn. It built a spa as a part of that building, all with beautiful views, as well as meeting space, yoga space, showers in that facility, all with beautiful views overlooking the mountains. That part of their property is absolutely booming amidst the coronavirus crisis, as people are looking for those outside, kind of away from the main inn accommodations. And not only did they do that 2 years ago and are reaping the benefits of that and adding the spa in there, but now they're saying, okay, how do we make our restaurant work harder for us? And they're taking their outdoor patio that overlooks the mountains, and they're putting a significant expansion on that outdoor patio, adding some really beautiful timber, pergola style. Pergola is not the right word in this case, so Mark and Marianne, forgive me for forgetting the word that y'all use in the mountains there, but an absolutely beautiful place on their property, taking an asset that they already have, and they're expanding that asset, one, to be able to seat more people in the restaurant part of their business outside and provide beautiful kind of 3-season dining, if you will, if not 4-season dining with heaters and everything else there, but they're also expanding their their wedding business as part of that. So they're taking something where they used to be able to do small weddings, making it larger, improving the overall quality through this timber pergola style situation that they're going to put there with post and beam construction. Going to be absolutely stunning and match the other expansion that they've done. And what they're doing through that is they're expanding their wedding capacity, because what we also talked about a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now in a webinar, is this micro wedding scene. And that, beginning of 2020, end of 2019, there was a lot of conversation around micro weddings, that this small 30 to 50 person wedding was really trending, allowing you just to get the people that are closest to you, spend more money per person on those smaller weddings, and just do something with the people closest to you, and how it's been referred to as a micro wedding. Well, nobody knew coronavirus was going to come, but that trend was already hot and moving, and it has since exploded. And I know many of you are in the wedding business and doing great things, and many of you are probably positioned to have weddings of 100 guests or more. But what there's a great opportunity now in this season to do is reinvent yourself, potentially if you're not doing weddings, or if you have capacity for large weddings, and say, how do we make micro weddings work? And we've had this conversation with many customers, had a lot of attendance on that webinar we did. You can find that on our YouTube channel as well at youtube.com/Q4Launch, where we talked for an hour just about the micro wedding boom and trend that's happening. But just like Mark and Marianne are expanding their presence, they're expanding their property to be able to accommodate this. You need to look around your property and you need to say, how could we do this? Do we have an open field? Could we add a gazebo? How could we really leverage this trend? Because this is not a short-lived trend. This trend is here to stay. Micro weddings are here to stay. I think because they were happening before COVID, they weren't caused by COVID, but there's going to be a shift in the wedding industry for a while. And I think we're going to see this trend continue on for a while. Point being, making infrastructure investments to support that type of activity is not a short-lived thing. This isn't a fall 2020 strategy. This is a all the time 2020, 21, 22, 23. I don't know how long the trend will last, but I am confident it will last for several years, if not become a fundamental shift in the way a certain amount of the population does weddings, even after COVID is over. So a really important opportunity for you to say, how could I invest into that? And I know many of you probably received PPP money. And with this boom of bookings, you may be on the verge of having your most profitable year ever. And I'm not here to give you tax advice, because there's depreciation and a ton of other things that factor into that, although I am a bit of a tax geek caused by having a CPA for a father who gave me QuickBooks when I was 17. I'm going to counseling for that on the side. That's a separate issue I won't bring up today. Well, too late. I already brought it up. But point being, I'm not here to give you tax advice, although I know too much about taxes, but you may need to be looking for tax write-offs. If you have had a great year, you've accepted PPP money, so your expenses have gone down over the summer, yet your income went up because of this boom in bookings we saw this summer, you may need to be looking for tax write-offs. And investing into your infrastructure could be part of that story. Now again, there's depreciation and a lot of other things, not here to talk about taxes, but it could be part of that story. Same thing, investing into your digital assets and your marketing may be a part of what you need to be thinking about as we near the end of 2020 and we're looking for those tax write-offs, lest we give back Uncle Sam all the money he gave us through PPP in the form of taxes, which I'm certain he is going to need to pay off the debt that was acquired as part of this whole situation. But sidebar, not going down on that, you need to be really thinking about those assets and saying, okay, how do we expand our assets? How do we lean into this? And it's not just a physical infrastructure conversation we need to be having, but it's a digital infrastructure conversation we need to be having. Is our website set up to support that? Have we really marketed that? And if we have been marketing weddings for years, what changes do we need to take advantage of the micro wedding boom that's happening? You may be saying, oh, well, we're already into fall. I think I've missed my window on that. The good news is you haven't, because what I can tell you is many of the large weddings, they're kind of holding, and then they're still kind of getting canceled a little bit last minute because they're hoping to still be able to pull that off. And what that means for you is that many of these micro weddings are getting booked relatively last minute. Now, I don't mean like 3 days out like accommodation bookings happen, but certainly weeks out, we're seeing micro weddings getting booked. So point being, in September, we find ourselves, you could still get bookings for October, November, December micro weddings by repositioning your marketing, your website now. And you don't have to make major infrastructure investments. Certainly you can, and to command a top dollar for these weddings, you probably need to. But you could do smaller investments, gazebos or pergolas or smaller investments to be able to support weddings in a maybe smaller capacity. You may not want to have a 50-person event, or your state may not let you have a 50-person event on property right now, but know those state guidelines for you and build your marketing plan around those guidelines to be able to have weddings, events that match up to that and match up to what you're comfortable with. We all have a little bit different beliefs and a little bit different comfortability on the current situation. So match those things up to your marketing plan and your marketing strategy, and understand how to take the advice and the guidance I'm giving you and right size that, right strategy that to your specific property. We probably have properties today from 2 rooms to 100 rooms tuned in. So understanding how different those types of properties are. We have properties that are urban on 0.2 acres to properties on 200 acres in the mountains or in the middle of who knows where. So got to give advice for people that use that, but then right size that, right strategy that to your property and the situation that you find yourself in. Also, as a part of that is showcasing your outdoor environments, is any opportunity you have to showcase your outdoor living space. I remember we were onboarding a new customer not too long ago, and one of their packages was to add a bonfire in a certain place on their property. So some of you may have the capacity to add space to have a bonfire, and I think for like $25, you could add a private bonfire experience around this kind of a relatively private fire pit that they had, and the innkeepers or the staff would go out and create this bonfire experience for you. Now, to do that and to make that an add-on, you have to, 1, have a fire pit, but that's pretty easy to add. 2, you have to market that as part of your story. And 3, it needs to be private, right? So I think it's a great thing to have that as an amenity. Certainly fire pits are very trendy in photography right now, and everybody loves them. And they can even just be gas fire pits, so you're not out there building like a wood fire pit, although I think the experience is a bit better with a true wood one. Obviously, it's a lot more work as well. But the point being, that's a great amenity for all of your guests, but if you're going to have it available for all guests, you need to do it in a very common area versus the privacy of having a private bonfire somewhere else on property. But looking for those kind of things and looking for those outdoor settings and amenities that you can quickly and easily add to your property, or maybe you already have them. I was visiting one of our customers in Texas before coronavirus and realized, wow, you've got a lot of outdoor amenities you never even told us about. And having that on-site experience, really being able to see that, and now showcasing those outdoor amenities at the same time that we're in COVID is absolutely booming their business. So what are those outdoor amenities on property or in your area that you really need to showcase through your marketing? Make sure that your marketing agency knows those things exist, because you see them every day. Sometimes they fail to be special to you, but that fresh perspective can be really important. So make sure you're telling them about the amenities you have around your property, as well as the things going on in your area, your destination, the hiking trails, the opportunity to canoe, kayak, any activities or adventures that guests can do outside. That should be your primary marketing message right now. Get outdoors and have fun, especially as we head into fall, because it's such a beautiful season to be outdoors in so many of our markets. So much is going on there that we can take advantage of and leverage from a marketing perspective to grow our businesses, and we have to do that. We also need to think about, so kind of shifting gears here a little bit, we need to think about how to redevelop your target market and your messaging to maximize success. So we talked about messaging and maximizing this outdoor enthusiast environment, but what else can we do to redevelop our target market? It's been heavily talked about, but we all know that this is heavily shifted into a drive market style season. So how do we market to that drive market? As we look at a drive market style season, that may be a change for you. I think most of our innkeepers, drive markets typically been who they've marketed to. That's what we see, at least as we look at the data, that they get most of their business from their drive market. So that in and of itself is probably not a huge shift, but leaning more into that with some of your geographic targeting that you're doing and everything that goes there, specifically specifically communicating, how far your property is from major metro areas. I remember really helping customers think through that and say, okay, we're located here, which is 3 hours from Charleston, it's 2 hours from Charlotte, it's an hour from Savannah, or whatever. That math probably doesn't work. There's probably not a place that actually exists in the radius to those cities, but you get my point. Communicating clearly to the customer, the prospective customer, how far away you are possibly from where they live, and you can go into your Google Analytics to quickly and easily understand, where are people coming to my website? Does 40% of my traffic come from in-state? Does 40% of my traffic come from this major metro area? And then building your marketing strategy around those major metro areas. Maybe you haven't done that in the past because you haven't needed to, but now as we really focus into this drive market, being able to do that. Also thinking through, and we've been focusing a lot on our customers' work from home assets, if you will, or the work from anywhere assets, and encouraging them to find ways to put desks into spaces. They can be very small desks, they can be fold down desks from the wall, lots of creative solutions for desks in this environment, but being able to put a desk into rooms, if possible, or set up kind of a business center, if you will, for lack of a tacky like hotel business center. Just putting a small space people can go and can work in your inn or in your B&B or in your hotel to be able to set people up for success. Making sure that you have strong Wi-Fi and things that were maybe a little bit important before, those business amenities, but you really wanted people to get away from work when they were there. Now that's shifting, and to be able to have people work from anywhere, they need to be able to do that. I can't tell you how many of my friends are taking work from anywhere vacations right now, and they're just like, well, I can work from anywhere, so I might as well go to the mountains, or I might as well go here. I have a friend who's just had coffee with yesterday, told me he's headed to Montana for a month. Those types of things. Now somebody's probably not going to come spend a month at your inn, but certainly they're going to spend a week. We have customers that have really extended their average length of stay in this season by offering some unique packages, as well as making it easy for people to work from anywhere, and having that in your marketing messaging, having that going out, just to remind your customers that are coming to you on a regular basis. They love coming to your property, and that's what we've seen as well, that repeat guests are growing in this season because they love it, they're strong, they're comfortable there. And being able to message to them, hey, come here for a week, and here's a special week-long rate that we'd love to give you, and here's the changes we've made to our property to make it more accommodating to work from anywhere. Just messaging those things and communicating them more than you think to. If you send out one email campaign with that, that's not enough, right? Because your one email campaign might have a 30% open rate, and if you send the same campaign a month from now, just reminding people of that messaging. You need to say that loud and clear, and you need to say it more often than you think you do. Now, I know most of our inns don't accept children, so I say this with that caveat. But if you do accept children, there's a great opportunity there, and our content team is working with some of our customers to create kind of school from anywhere style content. So creating lesson plans, if you will, around things to do in your area, because many of you have great history in your area. You have great outdoor environments in your area. You could even do home economics, and once breakfast for your main guest is over, you could do a cooking experience with kids. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be messy. Take that one on carefully. From somebody who has a 4-year-old to a 2-year-old, take that one on carefully, because I've seen those cooking experiences explode in our own home. But certainly some ideas just to be unique and to have a unique experience for people to come and have at your property. And those are great opportunities to fill midweek rates, and parents are desperate for that. They're desperate for a change of pace for their kids. So if you accept kids, expand your thinking on that, or children, I should say. I guess it's probably not real politically correct to say kids, but expand your thinking on children if you allow them at the inn, which I know many of you probably don't, but expand what you're thinking about there. Expand your offerings for those things. A great opportunity to lean into school from anywhere and do some lesson plans to give parents a chance to use the lesson plan you've created, or maybe you're as bold to even take that on and give the parents a break while you take the kids on a nature hike with your staff or whatever else. There's a lot tied into that. It's easy to talk about that from a marketing perspective. I also understand how hard that is to execute on. But think about those things. Just expand your thinking in this season. I think that's, my wife and I were at dinner the other night, and she said, I think one of the things that will never change, and I love the way we have responded to this culturally, is we've gotten so creative as business owners in this season, and we're doing things we never would have done before, creating experiences we never would have done before because we are being forced to by this situation. So we're taking a difficult situation and we're making the best out of it. And I love to see that. Love many of the way our customers are doing that, and our team is supporting them to be able to do that. And I'm sure many of you are doing that. But find unique ways to be able to redevelop that target market and message that well to maximize your success this fall. One of the other interesting shifts we've seen, so shifting gears here again, one of the other interesting shifts we have seen in this season is an increase in the number of people that are booking from Google search. So typically Google search drives the majority of direct bookings. Our customers see about 50% of their direct bookings coming from Google organic search specifically, but in this season that's grown even more. In this season that's grown significantly. I don't have exact percentages because we're still gathering data and there's a lot of difficulties with data in this season, but that number is certainly continuing to grow in this season. So looking at that and saying, okay, how do I adapt my search engine strategy? The other part that's unique about this season and more of a shorter term strategy is the growth in pay-per-click and the success we have seen there. So many people, so many of the national brands, so many of the online travel agents like Expedia and Booking.com, Airbnb, HomeAway, so many of the national brands have cut or eliminated their pay-per-click spending during the season. Now, many of them are starting to bring that back, but also so many of your local competitors have cut or eliminated their pay-per-click spending in the season. And what that's creating is an environment that has been increasingly competitive has all of a sudden become much less competitive. And we're getting clicks for our customers at about 25 cents on the dollar of what we were getting them at last year. Now that's starting to increase as more people are turning on their budgets. But my point being, if you've never really leaned into pay-per-click marketing as a strategy, this is the best season you will probably ever find to do so, because it's less competitive, meaning it's less expensive to get the same quality clicks, if not higher quality clicks, because of the consumer behavior changes that are happening. So a great season to lean into pay-per-click. If you're not doing that, we'd love to talk to you about that. It's an area I think we are uniquely skilled and bring a tremendous amount of value in. It is not an area I would recommend you try to do on your own. I cannot tell you how many people we talk to. They say, I don't understand, I came to your webinar, I'm doing pay-per-click on my own, why is it not working for us? It's really difficult to do it on your own. Despite the Google ads the Google ad reps that call you and tell you how easy it is to get up and running, it's really easy to get up and running and start spending a lot of money there, but it's very difficult to drive strong results. The industry average that we see is about a 3 to 5x return on ad spend in Google ads, whereas our customers see a 5 to 10x return on ad spend, and the majority of them have been north of 10x throughout this coronavirus season or COVID season because of the decreased competition and the impact we've been able to make through managing that. So I just share those benchmarks with you to be able to benchmark your own data, to look at your own Google Analytics and say, okay, what is my return on ad spend? Maybe you're managing that on your own. Maybe somebody else is managing that for you and you're not sure how well it's performing. That's just a quick benchmark you can look at. And if you're not sure what your ROAS is or your return on ad spend, or you don't know how to get to it, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to just show you where that information is in Google Analytics, remind you of those benchmarks and say, yeah, it's going well, or we think you can make these changes and it would work better for you here. But be careful doing that on your own. There's so many great companies in our industry that can help you with that, but it's a dangerous thing to do on your own because we see people wasting so much money. Specifically, WordStream, which is a company that provides Google Ad or Google management software and studies the industry quite a bit. They have a statistic that says 70% of people they see, or 70% of budgets they see more specifically, are being wasted. So 70% of all money spent on Google Ads historically is being wasted. That's a lot of money. You need to make sure you're not falling into that group that's wasting 70% of their budget, and we can in just a few minutes help you take a quick look at your Google Ads to understand if you're falling into that. All right, we just covered how to make sure you've got a successful search engine marketing or pay-per-click strategy and why this is a unique season and that is so important to take advantage of in this season as we're headed into fall here. Next, we just want to kind of talk briefly about how to make sure your marketing campaign is working for you as a whole. There are so many things that go into successful digital marketing, and it is getting increasingly complex all the time. So I can't tell you enough how important it is to be in your Google Analytics on a regular basis and understand what that data is telling you. It's one thing to have the data. I would imagine most of you have the data. It's a very different thing to understand it. But you have to understand it because in this season where things are certainly different than they've ever been, you need more than ever to make sure you're leaning into the things that are driving the greatest results for you and producing the best return for you. Many of our team members are working with their customers to really look at that and say, okay, how do we do more of what's working really well and maybe do less of what's not working as well, and reworking some of those things. And the same is true for you. You know, in this season with so much chaos, it's easy to kind of just turn a blind eye to marketing, especially if you're in the midst of catching that wave of bookings and summer has extended for many of you because one, Labor Day is really late, but two, kids are going back to school late. Summer seems to have extended itself this year in a unique way, which is great for many of your businesses. But it's easy when things are going well to not turn an eye to marketing and to not turn an eye to say, okay, let's really analyze what's been going well and how do we do more of that and do less of what's not going as well. And your Google Analytics are the core place for you to be able to really dive in and understand that. So would encourage you to make sure you're spending time there. Would also encourage you to stop and listen and look at fall. So many of us don't have falls that are as strong as we could because we are so busy going into fall. Then we feel like we need a little bit of time to recover from fall or recover from peak season, peak summer. Then we find ourselves in fall, and by the time we're turning our attention to fall marketing, we're in the middle of it and it's too late. And for that reason, we see so many people leave a lot of opportunity on the table in fall. And with it being a great fall, with a great fall coming from a travel perspective being upon us, now is the time we need to stop, pause, and look at our analytics, understand our marketing investments and strategies to be able to go into that. So log into Google Analytics, look at your data, look year over year. It's going to be a little bit crazy right now because of everything that's happened, but we also can give you some unique insights to that. We don't have access to just one account. We represent several hundred customers and have access, of course, to all that data. We also do several hundred Google Analytics analyses for every year for people around the industry just to help them understand what's going on. And why that matters to you is that while you're looking at your data, and it may be hard to make sense of it because of how much has changed this year with COVID and the drops in data responding to that, and then the increase as the wave of bookings was coming in many markets, it's really difficult, more so than it's ever been, to flesh out Google Analytics data and make sense out of it from a marketing perspective. But while it's very difficult, more difficult probably than it's ever been, it's also more important than it's ever been. So if you need help with that, get in touch with us. We'd be happy to spend 30 minutes on the phone with you on a screen share, doing a free Google Analytics analysis, just helping you understand what the data says and what that means to you and how we're seeing things being skewed both positively and negatively by COVID and what's happened as a result of COVID. We also have data across tons of different markets, both in the US as well as international. So we can help you understand how specifically in your market you might be being impacted differently than other people in other markets, and what you might be hearing from an innkeeper in New York and how that's different from one in Florida, and how that's different for you if you're out in California or you find yourself wherever. Like, it's very different based on different markets, so you need to be able to understand that at a high level. And I think because of how much data we have, we're uniquely positioned to be able to help you understand that. Again, just something we give away our time to help the industry understand what's going on in your data and what do you need to be thinking about. And I think one of the great things out of that analytics analysis is we always come out with 3 to 5 action items and say, hey, here's 3 to 5 ideas that we're doing. That'd be great if you could figure out a way to execute on these. We think you'd see a return on the investment here. So lean into what's working, but first understand what's working to be able to lean more into that. Also, as I mentioned, repeat guests seem to be increasing in this season because we're going to places we feel safe, we are known and we know them and we're comfortable, which is great for many of us in our industry that traditionally get strong repeat guests. But think about that as well. As you're shifting your marketing strategy, as you're doing things a little bit differently, how do you lean more into your repeat guests? How do you get more business from your repeat guests? How do you lean more into your revenue management strategy with that in mind? How do you lean more into revenue management to drive longer bookings? Lots to think about, but a really important season to do that well. So hopefully today's been helpful. We've shared a lot of information with you. We've shared what we're seeing from the latest trends and booking activities, the movement outdoors, the micro weddings, why we think this is going to be the best fall we've seen in years, if not ever, We've talked about how to redevelop your target market, how to ramp up your search engine marketing and pay-per-click strategy, and how to make sure that you're leaning into the marketing that's working best for you and gathering that data from Google Analytics. I hope all of this has been helpful for you. I believe the recording will be available to you to make sure that you are able to get out and listen to this again if you need to. And if there's anything we can do to help, certainly let us know. I'm going to hang around and answer some questions from the audience here in just a few minutes, but also feel free to get in touch with us. I think we can hopefully put our contact information on the screen there for you, but feel free to get in touch with us. Whether you want a free Google Analytics analysis or you just want to understand how to, you have questions that you don't want to ask in this group setting but you want answered, feel free to get in touch with us. We'll do anything we can to help you grow your business. We love partnering with you in the growth of your business, whether you follow our webinar series or this is the first time you've heard of us, or you're one of our customers that's joined in today. We love helping you grow your business no matter where you are on that spectrum, and are excited to be part of your success in this fourth quarter of 2020, Q4 2020. This is Matt, the founder of Q4 Launch. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take some questions.